Welcome to the Beat Sessions. I am your host, Mitchell Weary. This is the album review for the new Gorillaz record, Song Machine, Season 1, Strange Times, and they certainly are. This album is very aptly named. And eerily prescient because Damon Albarn and co. have actually been putting out material from this project since January, since before the pandemic even blew up. This was designed as a web series. They've been releasing each song with a corresponding video, one pretty much a month since the beginning of the year. They're up to 8 now, and they plan on releasing 3 more for a total of 11. There's 11 songs on the album, as well as 6 bonus tracks. All the bonus tracks have a hip-hop feel for the most part. They're all pretty awesome. So I do love the record for that extra material. There's 17 tracks total for 65 minutes of material, and I just can't get enough of it. I've listened to it 4 times now, I think, and definitely plan on spinning it a few more. I'm just impressed that Gorillaz as a project is still as innovative as they are, and I think it speaks a lot to Damon Albarn as a musician and his creativity. This project began out of just kind of a boredom with the album writing process and the constrictions that are put in place there. So it's cool to see him have a little more freedom, as well as artist Jamie Hewlett and Remy Kabaka Jr. is their other bandmate that they've been working with for the past 4 years. Really just appreciate the efforts in this record, considering that the previous 2 records, while they were good, weren't really quite up to par what I expect from Gorillaz. I think back to the very beginning. It's so funny to think that this project began out of spite, out of Damon Albarn's disdain towards what the music industry had become in the late 90s. And I remember being a big fan of Blur and feeling the disappointment in the decline in rock and roll. I was getting into hip-hop at the time as well. One of the first records that I was able to listen to was Deltron 3030. That record dropped in 2000, was blowing up at the time. And so the first time I heard Clint Eastwood, Damon Albarn and Del the Funky Homosapien together, match made in heaven. I was sold, completely loved that record. And I think it's more impressive that a few years down the road, Jamie Hewlett comes back to Damon Albarn and makes a fabulous point in saying that not only should we come together and make a second project to really solidify the legitimacy of Gorillaz, but if we do it, we also make a hell of a point in doing so. And they did with Demon Days, and I absolutely love that record. It's a classic. I honestly fell off as a fan a little bit after that, didn't follow as much of their material. Jumped back on recently out of curiosity and wasn't too impressed, especially with the last record. It honestly felt more like a Damon Albarn solo album, and considering that it was made mostly by himself while he was on the road, it kind of speaks to that. But I love the feel of this record. There's definitely an 80s vibe throughout of it. You're gonna definitely get to know me here, know that I love my 80s music. I love that the opening track, Strange Times, features Robert Smith from The Cure. This song feels like a Cure track. Upbeat though, you're gonna get a little more of that edgy Robert Smith in this track. Good pace for 3.5 minutes to open up this album. And then the second tune is called The Valley of Pagans. That features Beck. It's probably my favorite track on the record. I'm a huge Beck fan. Honestly, I think him and Damon Albarn have a lot of similarities as far as their songwriting style. They should collaborate more, frankly, but it's cool to see them together on this track. It works, and I think that you'll find it to be one of the highlights for sure. And then, just because I'm such a big New Order and Joy Division fan, Born on April 6th, there's a track called Aries featuring Peter Hook. And again, it feels like a New Order track, but again, you hear Damon Albarn begin to sing, and there are things about the track that are distinctly Gorillaz. So I do love that about the record. A couple slower tracks that are on the record: the Pink Phantom featuring Elton John and Black, who is a London hip-hop artist. A pretty smooth song there. And there's also a track called De Soleil featuring a lovely artist, Fatoumata Diawara, I believe is how you say her name, but Fatoumata is just absolutely exquisite on this track. Super elegant voice. It sounds like Damon Albarn took Zuby Zuby Zoo from Mad Men and mixed it with Girl from Ipanema, and I've never cared for that song, so I think it says a lot that those two come together and just make this exceptionally chill track. Cool track from St. Vincent on there as well, kind of a poppy feel. But the thing about Gorillaz is that it's mostly Damon Albarn's hip hop side, and you get a lot of cool tracks on this record. Again, Slow Tie, Octavian, Black, and Skepta, some of the big up and coming names in London hip hop. And you can actually thank Remy Kabaka Jr. For featuring those artists on this record. Damon Albarn will be the first to speak to his youth and experience with some of those newer artists. So it's pretty cool what he's bringing to the project as a whole. And those B-sides, there's a couple really cool tracks featuring Moonchild. What is that called? With Love to an X is a fantastic song. I definitely recommend checking out that. And I would also say the last song on the record called How Far, featuring Tony Allen, who worked with Fela Kuti. He is a co-founder of the Afrobeat genre, and he sadly passed away in April. So they, Gorillaz, I should say, released that track in May to commemorate and celebrate his life. And I know Damon Albarn worked a lot with him, so it's pretty cool that they round out the album with that track to commemorate his life and his work. But overall, I'm going to have to give this record a vinyl please. I cannot wait to go to the record store to buy this new Gorillaz record. It's been kind of weird with everything that's going on, getting over to Zia Records on Speedway, but they've been fantastic the few times that I've been able to dip in there since all this stuff has gone down. So if you live in Tucson and you buy records, dip by their store and give them a little bit of business, because they're good people. This has been the Beat Sessions. Please subscribe to the channel, like this video, help me grow my station, and I will see you next time.